What's up everybody? Today I'm going to show you how I made this live well for my kayak out of a pet food container. Alright, there it is. Here's the live well. I'll give you a little quick rundown, walk around of how it works. This is the pump housing right here, and this tube gets stuck down inside your scupper hole on the kayak, and then this is the primer pump, and this is a one-way check valve. See the little arrow right there. So when this is in the water, when this tube is in the water, you pump this thing and it sucks water through the tube, primes the pump housing, and then it starts squirting water through this tube into the bait tank, and then the water won't come back this way, so it won't suck air into it. So you got to pump this a few times, get the pump housing primed up full of water, and then turn it on and it starts pumping. I'll show you the battery setup here in a second. I got it inside right here now, but inside here I have a adjustable valve here, so you can see there's a small hole there. The water shoots out sideways like that. You can crank it all the way open and max water flow, or you can crank it down and then lower the amount of water that comes out, and it'll spray farther and create more bubbles, but that doesn't really matter when you're cycling fresh ocean water through it all the time. Two drains right here. Those are the through hole attachments you can get at West Marine. I got all this stuff at West Marine. I got the pump and the primer ball and the check valve, and then this through hole. It's actually a through hole live well valve or nozzle, something like that. And here's the two through hole drains I have on here. So I have this one plugged right now, which is the top hole. So if I open that one up, the water level will be right up there. It'll be more full. I've just been using the bottom one right now, and then I adjust the water flow in the valve to be, right about here. So it's constantly draining out of there, but it's filling up more water than it's draining out, so the water level stays higher than this bottom valve here. But if I wanted to fill it up to up here somewhere, I could just swap this. This thing comes off real easy. Put this hose on here and plug this bottom one. And I actually have a plug right here. I used to have a drain on it right here, but the way it sits in my kayak now, that this is below the well, and this is right up against the wall of the rear well on the kayak, so it's just a rubber plug that from there, and that works fine to plug it. And the way I attach the pump, I kind of want it to move around a little bit, so I can pull this hose out and stash it on the side like this, and then move it around and stick it into the scupper hole, so if it moves around, it's not permanently attached. I have a little piece of foam glued on here just for vibration, but I just have it bungeed on here with a little bungee cord, and then these are some little bungee keepers for the kayak. They're just riveted on there, and I just wrap it around it like that, and I don't know, just find a good way to attach it. Stretch it across, pop it on there like that, so it's not going anywhere, but it's movable. And this hose is flexible here, so it can move. One piece of advice I can give you is these primer balls come with a check valve inside it. You can see there's an arrow right here, and it usually has a check valve right here, but the check valve in these gas primer balls is super small, so the hole that lets water come out of is tiny little hole. so it really limits the water flow. I used to have this check valve down here on the bottom, and then I was using the check valve that was in here on the top, and it really limited the water flow coming out of there. So you actually don't need one on the bottom as long as this tube stays underwater, and you can suck water up through here into the pump housing and pass it through this check valve and prevent water from coming back this way and sucking air in. You just need this one check valve on here. And I just use these hose clamps to attach it all along here. I at one point had it all glued on here with marine goop, and it's really not necessary. You just need these hose clamps, and I mean, if it drips a little bit, then whatever, it drips into the kayak. But one thing you really want to make sure is that this gasket that's in here, it's kind of like a little rubber gasket for a hose. You want to make sure that that thing is seated on there correctly, or else when you're pumping this thing, it's going to suck a little bit of air into here, and it's going to prevent the pump from priming. So at one point I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I unscrewed this thing, messed with the gasket inside there, tightened it back on correctly, and now it works fine. So just have a little kayak hook eye right there for attaching it to the kayak, and then I run my strap over the top of it like this. I'll show you what it looks like on the kayak. I got a Scotty rod holder attached on the back here just to stick my bait pole in here. I just drilled a couple holes in it, and I used the original Scotty attachment. Screw this thing on there. I mean, you could just put 2 bolts through, but I don't know, I had that one already, so I just used that. And I drilled another hole, put another bolt right there, and attached it right here so it doesn't move. It's on there nice and rigid, and that's pretty much it. I got a string attached to one of the rivets on the hook eye here, and a rivet through here. Looks like it's kind of getting frayed and wearing out. I might want to replace that string soon so I don't lose this thing. This is my chair over here. My daughter dyed her hair pink the other day. Got hair dye all over the chair. That's funny, huh? But yeah, I just got this string on here so you can take this off and just let it hang while you're fishing your bait out, and then just pop it back on, give it a couple twists, and then everything's secure in there. So the battery, let me show you this battery. Here's the battery. It might be a little overkill for this setup, but this thing will last all day. If you're keeping bait alive all day, it might run a couple days, but it's a 15 amp hour sealed lead acid battery, and seriously, this thing weighs 10 pounds. It is super heavy, so you got to think about that when you're getting a battery for your bait tank. There are lithium ion batteries that are completely sealed for kayaks and water use, but you got to be careful with that because those things get wet. They cause problems. So this is the motor, 500 gallon per hour motor cartridge for the Johnson pump. Fits right in there. I'll show you how it pops in a second, but that's how I got it wired up. I just used the short wire that the pump comes with, and then put these little attachments on here to clip onto the battery, and it takes a and then I have a switch here. So I use these sealed attachments here, and I use some shrink wrap on there to give it a little more protection, and I got them colored so I know that this is plus and this is minus, and basically they just pop right on there. The the switch just kind of sits on the side right there like that. And then I put it inside this waterproof bag here. Put it in there, and I just roll this up around the wire like that, and then clip it shut. And there's my motor, there's my battery pack. So this motor just pops inside here, and then you give it a little turn. Make sure it's in there, a little turn, and this little clip right here clips it on there. Now the motor's in there, and then I put the battery pack right in the front here, slip it down into the well and strap it on, and it's in there. There you go. I got a hook eye on here with a bungee attached to these two hook eyes right here, and that's how it gets held down in the front, so it's real secure. Clips onto here and it's held down by these two bungee keepers and keeps it on there real solid. The hose coming from the pump goes into the scupper hole here, so just stick it down in there, push it down in there, and it's secure like that. You can see underneath here, it sticks down just a little bit, so it's definitely underwater even if it's not sticking out, but I just cut it so it's right underneath the water line there. And then the battery pack. Goes right on top of the hose. Fits right in there snugly. And then the motor clips in. And then this strap right here goes right over the battery. Everything's secure. There's the switch sticking out right there. And that's how it works. Now here's the drain hose. Just turn it so it's hanging over the edge. And that's it. If you want to swap them, pull this one off, plug on the bottom one, and drain on the top one. It just hangs over the edge like that, and lets the water pour down back into the ocean. And then you still have some space back here to store some gear, and that's what it looks like on the kayak. This is how it works. Couple little guys. That'll work for now though. Gotta watch out, these guys can fit through my scupper hole here, so plug that in. Watch out not to destroy them. So I got the live well set up. This is how it works. Pump it a few times. This is just a primer ball for an outboard motor. I have a switch inside my battery pack here. Flip it on. Start shooting water out. Make sure the baits end up in there. Last time I lost them. Little guy here. Just to flow a little bit. So now I just gotta find some more.